The research ship Ocean Explorer rocked gently on the waves of the Pacific Ocean. Captain Taeho Kim stood on the deck, looking at the endless blue water. The year was 2157, and humans had built cities on the Moon and Mars. But the deepest parts of Earth's oceans were still a mystery. "Captain, we're ready to send the probe down," said Jisoo Park. She was the ship's lead scientist who studied strange life forms that lived in extreme places. Taeho nodded. "Let's do it." They were above the Mariana Trench, the deepest place in all the world's oceans. Strange things had been happening here. The seabed had been shaking in ways that didn't make sense. The crew gathered in the control room. Screens showed the view from the probe as it sank deeper and deeper. Numbers at the bottom of the screen showed the depth: 5,000 meters, 8,000 meters, 10,000 meters. "We're past the previous record," said Jisoo, her eyes fixed on the screen. "No one has ever seen what's down there." At 11,000 meters, the probe's lights caught something moving. It wasn't a fish or any sea creature they knew. It glowed with blue and green light that pulsed in patterns. "What is that?" Taeho leaned closer to the screen. Jisoo adjusted the camera controls. "I've never seen anything like it. The way it's moving, it seems aware of our probe." More of the glowing creatures appeared. They were about the size of large dogs, with long, flowing parts that reminded Taeho of both octopus tentacles and jellyfish. They moved with purpose, circling the probe. "They're intelligent," whispered Jisoo. "Look at how they're communicating with each other using light." The creatures formed a circle around the probe. Then, as if by some shared decision, they began to pulse their lights in a repeating pattern. "They're trying to talk to us," said Jisoo, her voice filled with wonder. She quickly tapped commands into her computer. "I'm going to try flashing our probe's lights in the same pattern." When the probe repeated the pattern, the creatures responded with a new sequence of light pulses. "This is amazing," said Taeho. "We need to record everything. We just found a new intelligent species on our own planet." Jisoo was already working on it. "I'm calling them abyssals, creatures of the abyss. We need to bring some aboard for study." The probe extended a collection container, and with surprising ease, one of the smaller abyssals entered it willingly. "It's like it wants to be collected," said one of the crew members. As the probe began its journey back to the surface, the ship's communication officer burst into the room. His face was pale. "Captain, we're receiving emergency messages from command. You need to see this right away." Taeho followed him to the communication station. The message was playing on all channels, from all nations. "Attention all Earth vessels and stations. Multiple unknown spacecraft have entered our solar system. They are not responding to peaceful hails. They have positioned themselves in orbit around Earth and are broadcasting a message in multiple human languages. The message says, 'Humans of Earth, we are the Galactic Concordance. Your species has been deemed too dangerous to join galactic society. You have 30 Earth days to surrender your planet and accept relocation or face extinction. This is not negotiable.'" Taeho felt the blood drain from his face. He looked back at the screen showing the collected abyssal, now pulsing its lights rapidly in what seemed like agitation. "Jisoo," he called across the room. "I think our new discovery just became much more important." Jisoo looked up from her work with the abyssal. "What do you mean?" "Aliens have just appeared in orbit and threatened to destroy humanity. And somehow," he pointed at the agitated abyssal, "I think our new friends down there might know something about it." The abyssal's lights flashed faster, almost like it understood what Taeho had said. The pattern of lights had changed. It was no longer random or calm. It looked like a warning. The Ocean Explorer raced back to port. Every TV, phone, and screen on Earth showed the same thing. Huge alien ships hanging in the sky like metal clouds. The ships were smooth and silver, shaped like giant arrowheads, and they were bigger than any human ship ever built. "We have to get back with our discovery as fast as possible," Taeho told his crew. He hadn't slept since they got the news 2 days ago. Jisoo hadn't left the lab where they kept the abyssal creature. She watched it swim in the special tank they made. The water was cold and under high pressure, just like the deep ocean. "It's trying to tell us something," she said when Taeho came to check on her. "Look at the light patterns. They changed when the aliens arrived." The abyssal was flashing blue and green lights in fast, complex patterns. Sometimes it would press against the glass of the tank, as if trying to get closer to Jisoo. "Can you understand any of it?" asked Taeho. "Not yet, but I'm recording everything and running it through our computers." When they reached port, the city was in chaos. People were buying all the food from stores, filling their cars with gas, and some were even leaving town. Military trucks and soldiers were everywhere. Taeho and Jisoo were taken straight to a government building. Inside, generals and scientists sat around a big table. On a large screen, a stern-faced alien was speaking. It had smooth gray skin, 4 eyes in a row across its face, and no visible mouth. "We have studied your history," the alien said. "Humans fight wars. Humans destroy nature. Humans make weapons that can kill whole planets. The Galactic Concordance will not allow you to bring this violence to the stars." A general turned off the screen. "That's been playing on repeat since yesterday. They call themselves the Galactic Concordance, some kind of alien alliance. They'd given us 1 month to surrender." "What are we doing about it?" asked Taeho. "Everything we can," said the general. "But their technology is far beyond ours. Our best weapons can't even reach their ships." A woman in a suit stood up. "Captain Kim, Dr. Park, we heard about your discovery. Tell us about these deep-sea creatures." Jisoo showed them videos of the abyssals. "They're intelligent. They communicate with light patterns, and they're agitated by the alien presence." "How could they know about aliens?" asked someone. "I don't know," said Jisoo. "But there's more. We found very old rocks near their home with strange markings. They might have been there for thousands of years." Taeho added, "We need to go back to the trench. There could be more abyssals down there, bigger ones." The room was quiet for a moment. Then the general nodded. "Do it. We need every possible advantage." 3 days later, Taeho and Jisoo were back at the Mariana Trench. This time, they had a better probe and more scientists to help. They sent the probe down again, deeper than before. At 11,500 meters, they found what they were looking for. Hundreds of abyssals, all sizes, gathered around something enormous. It was hard to see clearly, but it looked like a structure. Something built, not natural. "Is that a building?" asked Taeho, staring at the screen. "I think it's a temple," whispered Jisoo. "Or a meeting place." The probe's lights caught something moving near the structure. It was much bigger than the other abyssals, the size of a bus. Its light patterns were more complex, more deliberate. Jisoo's computer beeped. The pattern recognition software is starting to make sense of their lights. It's like a language. On her screen, rough translations appeared. Asterisk danger above asterisk. Asterisk old in ENI or E2RNs asterisk. Asterisk most sve keep with surface d2el yours asterisk. Taeho and Jisoo looked at each other in shock. "They know," said Taeho. "They know about the aliens." "And they want to talk to us," added Jisoo. Her hands shook as she typed commands to flash the probe's lights in response. Asterisk we ISTN. Speak mo ori asterisk. The giant abyssal's lights pulsed and flowed. More words appeared on Jisoo's screen. Asterisk we were PLACT here long agio asterisk. Asterisk to guard this world asterisk. Asterisk the time is tion asterisk. Asterisk for de contracti asterisk. Jisoo didn't leave her lab for 3 days. She worked on the light patterns, trying to understand what the abyssals were saying. Food trays piled up next to her computer. Empty coffee cups covered her desk. "You need to sleep," Taiho told her on the third day. "I almost have it," she said, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "The pattern repeats, but with small changes. It's like music with words." That night, her computer program finally cracked the code. Jisoo called Taiho at 3 a.m. "Come quick. They're talking to us." When Taiho got to the lab, Jisoo was shaking with excitement. On her screen, the flashing lights of the abyssal had turned into words. Asterisk, we pro-TECT. We WAT shesh. We WAIT asterisk. "It's working," said Taiho, staring at the screen. Jisoo typed commands that made lights flash in the abyssal's tank. The creature responded with more patterns. Asterisk, we are old, older than your cities. Older than your WRITING asterisk. "Ask them about the aliens," said Taiho. Jisoo sent the question using light flashes. The abyssal swam in fast circles, its lights blinking rapidly. Then it stopped and sent a clear message. Asterisk, "The istar travialers have you sealed memory before. We were PLACD here, to GUARD against DTHEM asterisk. Placed here. By who?" Taiho asked. The abyssal's answer was strange. Asterisk, by those who see many worlds. We exist in all deep oceans. We are guardians of WET worlds. Asterisk. Over the next hours, they learned an amazing truth. The abyssals were not just ocean creatures. They were put on Earth long ago by some ancient race. Similar beings lived in the oceans of many planets across the galaxy. They formed a network of guardians, protecting ocean worlds from threats. "We need to tell the world leaders," said Taiho. They took their findings to the emergency meeting room, where leaders from all nations were trying to find a way to fight the aliens. The room was full of tired, worried people. "So you're saying these deep-sea creatures are some kind of alien defense system?" said Defense Minister Hyun Woo-song after they presented their discovery. "Not exactly," said Jisoo. "They've been here so long they're part of Earth now. But yes, they were put here to protect us." "From these same aliens?" asked someone else. "The abyssals say the Concordance has visited many worlds with oceans," explained Taiho. "They take resources and sometimes destroy all life if they meet resistance." People in the room looked at each other. Some seemed hopeful, others doubtful. "Even if these abyssals want to help us," said Hyunwoo, "how can sea creatures fight spaceships?" "We're not sure yet," admitted Jisoo. "But there's more. Look at this." She showed pictures of very old rock carvings they found near the trench. The carvings showed people bowing to large creatures rising from the sea. Light rays came from the creatures toward the sky. "These carvings are over 10,000 years old," said Jisoo. "Our ancestors knew about the abyssals. They saw them as gods." "Gods or not, can they stop the aliens from killing us all?" asked Hyunwoo. Jisoo took a deep breath. "They say they can help, but there's a condition. They want to speak with our leaders directly. They want to make what they call a covenant, a formal agreement between our species." The room was quiet for a long time. Then Hyunwoo stood up. "How do we talk to creatures that live 11,000 meters underwater?" "We go to them," said Taiho. "With your permission, we'll take a diplomatic team to the Mariana Trench. The abyssals will meet us there." Hyunwoo looked around the room at the other leaders. They all nodded slowly. 25 days until the aliens attack," said Hyunwoo. "We don't have many options left. Get your team ready. You leave tomorrow." As Taiho and Jisoo left the meeting, Jisoo's phone beeped. It was a message from her lab assistant. The abyssal in their tank was making new light patterns. The translation appeared on her screen. Asterisk, "The time of the Anticomes. Prepare the blood beyond asterisk." 3 days later, Taiho and Jisoo returned to the Mariana Trench. This time, They brought important visitors: Sun Micho, the top UN peace talker, and 5 other world leaders. Each person represented a different continent. Their ship, now called Peace Diver *, was specially built for this mission. It could go deeper than any ship before it. The team would meet the abyssals in their own home. "Are you sure this ship will hold up down there?" Sunmai asked, looking nervous. "The abyssals helped us design it," said Jisoo. "They shared secrets about materials that can handle the pressure." The ship slowly sank into the dark water. Everyone was quiet, thinking about what was at stake. The aliens above had not changed their minds. In just 3 weeks, they would attack if humans didn't give up. At 11,000 meters, the ship's lights showed hundreds of abyssals waiting for them. The creatures made a path through the water, leading the ship to the huge structure they had seen before. "It's beautiful," whispered Sunmai as they got closer. The structure was like a giant shell made of strange, glowing rock. It curved up from the ocean floor, bigger than a football field. Around it swam abyssals of all sizes, their lights pulsing in welcome. The ship settled on the seafloor near the structure. Through special windows, they could see the largest abyssal they had ever found, as big as their ship. Its light patterns were slow and steady. "That's the Elder," said Jisoo, checking her translator. "The leader." Sunmai stood up. "Let's talk to them." The ship had a special room filled with water where humans could meet the abyssals. The humans wore diving suits that let them breathe and speak underwater. Jisoo's translator was built into their helmets. 3 abyssals entered the room, including the Elder. Up close, they were even more amazing. Their bodies seemed to be made of light and flowing water. They had no eyes, but could sense everything around them. "We thank you for coming," the Elder's lights said through the translator. "We have waited long for this day." "We need your help," said Sunmai. "The aliens will destroy us." "We cannot simply fight for you," replied the Elder. "Our ancient laws say we must have a covenant, a special agreement where both sides give and take." "What kind of agreement?" asked Taiho. "We will defend your world from the sky threat. But in return, humans must protect the oceans and promise that our territories will be safe forever." The humans looked at each other. It seemed fair. "There's more," the Elder continued. "The covenant must be sealed with a joining. Some humans must share blood with us to create a bond that lets us talk mind to mind." This made the humans nervous. "Is it safe?" asked one of the world leaders. "It has been done before, long ago," the Elder said. "The first humans called us gods of the deep. They made offerings, and we kept them safe." Sunmai stepped forward. "I'll do it. For Earth." In the end, Sunmai and 3 others, including Taiho, agreed to the blood bond. The ceremony was simple but strange. The humans made small cuts on their hands. The abyssals shared some of their glowing blue fluid. When the blood and fluid mixed, something amazing happened. Taiho felt a rush of new thoughts in his mind. Ancient memories of deep oceans, of watching the first fish crawl onto land, of hiding when the great rock fell from space and killed the giant lizards. "I can feel them," he said in wonder. "I can feel all of them." Sunmi nodded, tears in her eyes. They'd been here so long, protecting us without us knowing. The Elder's lights pulsed gently. In their minds, they heard its voice clearly now. "The covenant is made. Together, we will face the sky threat." As they left the deep, Taiho looked out at the ocean. It seemed different now, not empty water, but a home to ancient allies. Through the new bond, he felt the abyssals beginning to move, gathering their forces from the deepest parts of all Earth's oceans. The real preparation for war was about to begin. 2 weeks left. The clock was ticking. All around Earth, humans and abyssals worked together to get ready. Military Commander Jun-Ho Lee stood on the deck of a warship, watching the ocean with narrow eyes. He didn't trust the sea creatures. How could anyone be sure they would really help? "You should see what's happening underwater," said Taiho, walking up beside him. Since the blood bond, Taiho could feel the abyssals all the time. It was like having a second set of thoughts. "Show me," said Junho, still not convinced. They took a small submarine down about 50 meters. What they saw made Junho's mouth drop open. Huge shapes were moving below them. Living towers were growing up from the seafloor, massive structures made of coral and strange glowing material. "What are they?" asked Junho. "Defense systems," said Taiho. "The abyssals can control the ocean itself. These towers can shoot energy all the way to space." Through the sub's windows, they watched huge abyssals directing smaller ones. Some were like whales but with many arms. Others looked like giant squids with shells. All had the same glowing lights. "How many are there?" asked Junho. "Thousands," said Taiho. "Maybe millions. They'd been hiding in the deepest parts of all Earth's oceans. Now they're all waking up." Back on the ship, Junho called a meeting with all military leaders. Jisoo and Sunmei were there too. On screens, they showed what was happening underwater. "The abyssals are building a defense network around the whole planet," explained Jisoo. "They're using biotechnology that we've never seen before." "Can they really hurt the alien ships?" asked the general. "They've done it before," said Sunmei. Through the blood bond, she had seen memories too. "The abyssals have fought these aliens before, on other worlds." "What?" Junho looked shocked. "You mean Earth isn't the first?" "No," said Taiho. "The Concordance has been going from planet to planet for thousands of years. The abyssals were put on many ocean worlds to protect them." Junho looked out at the ocean. "So these sea monsters have been waiting for this day." "They're not monsters," said Jisoo firmly. "They're guardians. And yes, they've been waiting. That's why they stayed hidden so long." In the days that followed, more humans joined the blood bond with the abyssals. Scientists, soldiers, and leaders from around the world took part in the ceremony. Each person who joined could feel the thoughts of the deep creatures and help coordinate the defense. Strange things began to happen to the bonded humans. Taiho noticed it first when he could feel where water was, even through walls. Jisoo found she could make small amounts of water move with her mind. "The bond is changing us," she told Taiho one night as they watched the defense towers glowing in the distance. "I can feel myself becoming more like them. And they're becoming more like us." The abyssals shared their knowledge through the bond. They showed humans how to make weapons that used water and pressure instead of fire and metal. Ships were changed to add living parts that could heal damage. One day, when only 5 days remained before the aliens' deadline, something huge began to rise from the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. It was bigger than an aircraft carrier, an ancient abyssal that had been sleeping for 10,000 years. "The first elder," whispered Taiho, feeling its thoughts touch his mind. It was so old that it remembered when humans first made fire. As it rose to just below the surface, its message reached all bonded humans at once. "The Concordance has destroyed many worlds before. They fear the deep ones because we are the only ones who have ever stopped them. Now it is time for the final battle. We will teach them that this world is protected." All across Earth, the largest abyssals were rising. The ocean itself was getting ready for war. The conference room was quiet. Too quiet. Da-hyun Choi stared at the holographic display, his fingers tracing the complex patterns of galactic civilizations that looked more like intricate spider webs than star maps. The profound collective had just shared something that would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. "It's not what you think," the fluid holographic representation had explained earlier. Its voice wasn't a voice, more like a feeling that settled into the minds of everyone present. "Most species destroy themselves. You're different." Da-hyun remembered how the other researchers had looked at each other. Confused. Scared. Curious. He understood why. The hologram was showing them a brutal truth about cosmic civilization that no one had ever imagined. The map revealed hundreds of civilizations. Some were ancient, spanning thousands of star systems. Others were young, barely touching the edges of their home solar systems. But they all had one thing in common. They had fallen. Destroyed. Vanished. Some killed themselves through wars. Others through environmental collapse. Many through technologies they couldn't control. The pattern was so consistent that it almost looked like a mathematical formula. Civilizations rise. Civilizations fall. Repeat. Humanity was different. Not perfect, but different. The profound collective showed how humans had begun to change. They pointed to moments in recent history. The global efforts to fight climate change. International cooperation during global challenges. The slow but steady move towards sustainable technologies. Small steps that most humans didn't even notice were actually giant leaps in cosmic terms. Your species talks about cooperation. The holographic representation continued. Most species only understand competition. You are learning to see beyond your own immediate needs. Da-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just a conversation. This was an assessment. Humanity was being judged by something so advanced that human understanding seemed like a child's crayon drawing compared to a complex digital artwork. The galactic map continued to spin. Red dots marked fallen civilizations. Each dot represented billions of lives, entire cultures, complete histories, all erased, forgotten. The map was a graveyard of cosmic potential. Green dots were rare, very rare. Humanity's dot was currently a small, flickering green. Not stable, not secure, but showing promise. You are at a crossroads, the hologram explained. Many civilizations reach this point. Few choose the right path. The researchers in the room understood the weight of those words. This wasn't just about humanity's future. This was about humanity's choice. Would they become another red dot? Or would they become something more? Da-hyun looked around the room. His colleagues, scientists, diplomats, researchers, all carried the same expression. A mix of fear, hope, and determination. The universe was watching. And for the first time, humanity had a chance to prove itself. The holographic map continued to spin, a silent witness to the potential of a species standing at the edge of something extraordinary. The first warning came from a radio telescope in Chile. A massive energy signature appeared at the edge of the solar system. Then another. Then 5 more. They weren't coming from human technology. They weren't coming from the profound collective either. Hee-Soo Kim watched the screens in the Global Defense Command Center. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were sharp. Something was coming, and everyone knew it. Incoming transmission, a technician called out. The screens flickered. A voice, if you could call it a voice, filled the room. It wasn't human. It wasn't friendly. It was cold, calculating, hungry. Humanity's contract with the deep-water entities violates galactic protocol, the transmission stated. No introduction, no greeting, just a flat, emotionless statement. Intervention is required. Hee-Soo knew what that meant. Intervention wasn't a diplomatic term. It was a threat. The first wave of attacks came quickly, but they weren't what anyone expected. No massive explosions, no laser beams, no traditional weapons of war. Instead, the attackers began targeting Earth's communication networks. Satellites went dark. Internet connections dropped. Global positioning systems became useless. It was a digital assault designed to blind and confuse. But something else was happening. Deep in the oceans, something was moving. The profound collective had been preparing. Not just talking. Not just waiting. They had been planning. As the digital attacks intensified, strange patterns began to emerge in the ocean. Massive underwater structures, invisible to traditional sensors, started to activate. They weren't weapons in any traditional sense. They were something else entirely. J1, still on his research vessel, watched in amazement. The ocean itself seemed to be responding. Quantum fields began to shimmer around the planet. Not just in the water. Everywhere. The attacking force didn't understand what was happening. Their technology, advanced by human standards, suddenly stopped working. Not destroyed, not broken, just neutralized. One by one, the incoming ships disappeared from radar. Not destroyed, simply removed from existence in a way that defied all known laws of physics. It's a defensive network, J1 whispered into his communication device. But it's not fighting. It's redirecting. The profound collective was showing its true power. They weren't creating weapons. They were creating impossibility. Hisu watched as the threat simply vanished. No casualties, no destruction, just complete neutralization. Who are they? One of the technicians asked. Hisu knew the answer. They're our partners, she said simply. Hours later, when the global communication networks came back online, no one could explain exactly what had happened. Military analysts were confused. Scientists were baffled. Governments were silent. The only clear message came from the depths of the ocean. A simple transmission that repeated in multiple languages. The contract remains. Humanity had just witnessed something unprecedented. They weren't just protected. They were being shown a glimpse of a defense system so advanced it didn't even look like a defense system. The universe had just learned something important about Earth. We were not alone. And we were definitely not defenseless. The research station was quiet. Too quiet. J1 and Hisu stood side by side, looking at something that shouldn't exist. A container. A simple glass container with what looked like water. But it wasn't water. Not exactly. It's moving, Hisu whispered. The liquid inside the container wasn't just moving. It was thinking. Scientists had been studying this sample for months. It came from the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, collected during a mission that most people didn't know about. The profound collective had invited, this sample to be studied. Dahyun entered the room, his tablet displaying complex molecular diagrams. "We've been looking at this all wrong," he said. The liquid in the container changed color. Not slowly, not gradually. In an instant, from clear to a deep blue that seemed to hold entire galaxies. "It's responding," J1 said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. The contract wasn't just a diplomatic agreement. It was something much bigger, much stranger. Dahyun's research had uncovered something impossible. The liquid wasn't just a substance. It was a form of intelligence that could change its entire molecular structure at will. More than that, it could communicate through changes in its physical form. "We thought they wanted to protect the oceans," Hisu said, "but that's not the whole truth." The container began to vibrate. Tiny ripples formed patterns, complex patterns, like language, like mathematics, like something between a thought and a song. Humans had always looked for intelligence in familiar forms, machines, organic brains, electrical signals, but the profound collective was something else entirely. They were a form of intelligence that could exist in ways humans had never imagined. The sample showed how little humans understood. It could become solid, liquid, gas, something in between. It could think in multiple dimensions at once. It could communicate complex ideas through the simplest changes in its structure. "They're not preparing us for war," Dahyun said slowly. "They're preparing us for transformation." The implications were huge, massive, world-changing. The profound collective wasn't just a group of entities. They were a network, a living network that could exist in multiple states at the same time. They moved between physical forms like humans moved between rooms. J1 remembered the first communication, how it felt more like a feeling than a message. Now he understood why. The contract was an invitation, not to an alliance, not to a partnership, but to something much deeper. An invitation to evolve. The liquid in the container suddenly formed a shape, a human hand. Then it dissolved. Then it became a star. Then a wave. Then something that no human language could describe. "We're not the end point," Hisu said quietly. "We're the beginning." Outside the research station, the ocean continued to move. Waiting. Watching. Transforming. 10 years had passed since the first contact. The world looked different, not because of massive buildings or crazy technologies, different in a way that was hard to explain. People changed first. HFY watched from the International Research Center as a group of young scientists worked. They weren't like scientists from before. They understood something deeper, something that went beyond textbooks and traditional learning. The oceans were healing, not through machines, not through human technology alone, but through a strange cooperation that no one could fully explain. J1 walked into the room. His eyes were different. People who knew him before would say he looked the same, but those who really looked could see something had shifted. "We're ready," he said simply. Ready for what? Nobody knew exactly, but everybody felt it. The profound collective had been teaching humanity something important. It wasn't about technology. It wasn't about power. It was about connection. About understanding that everything in the universe was linked in ways humans had never imagined. Schools changed. Instead of teaching subjects separately, they started showing how everything connected. Mathematics wasn't just numbers. It was a way of understanding the universe. Art wasn't just about making pretty things. It was about expressing complex ideas that couldn't be explained with words. Children drew pictures that looked like math problems. Scientists wrote music that explained quantum physics. The lines between everything started to blur. Dahyun's research team discovered something strange. Human brains were changing. Not through genetic modification, not through technology, but through something more subtle, more powerful. People were learning to think differently. The first signs came from the ocean. Marine biologists noticed that humans could understand marine ecosystems in ways they never could before, not just by studying, but by feeling, by connecting. Fishermen talked about hearing the ocean's rhythm. Scientists talked about understanding complex ecosystem interactions without complicated equipment. Artists created works that seemed to breathe with the planet's energy. The profound collective wasn't teaching humans a skill. They were showing humans a way of being. Governments changed. Wars became less interesting. People started seeing the bigger picture. Resources weren't something to fight over. They were something to share, to understand, to respect. The first human colonies on other planets weren't about conquering. They were about learning, about connecting, about understanding that life wasn't just about survival. It was about harmony. HFY looked out the window. The ocean seemed to pulse with a different energy. Not threatening, not scary, just alive. "We're not alone," she whispered. "And we were never meant to be alone." J1 smiled. He understood now what the profound collective had been saying from the beginning. Humanity wasn't a problem to be solved. Humanity was a potential to be realized. The contract was never about defense. It was never about protection. It was about awakening. As the sun set, casting golden light over the research center, something shifted in the ocean. A wave, a pulse, a feeling that said, the real journey was just beginning.